صديه واستغفره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله والله كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah said him, that is Muhammad with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأوثق الأمور كلمة تقوى وخير الملال ملة إبراهيم وخير السنن سنة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأشرف الحديث ذكر الله وأحسن القصص هذا القرآن وخير الأمور أوزموها وشر الأمور محدثاتها وأحسن الهدي هدي الأنبياء وأشرف الموت قتل الشهداء وأما الأمة دلالة بعد الهدى وخير الأعمال ما نفع وخير الهادي ما اتباع وشر الأمة أما الكلب. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is Taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the communities is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best of acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah ya'muru bil-'adli wal-ihsani wa ita'i dhil-qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal-munkari wal-baghi ya'idhukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يُرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan willing to guide, He opens their heart or their breast to Islam. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in the state of Islam. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out to you, and be not divided amongst yourselves. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You are the best peoples raised up for mankind because you enjoin the right, you forbid the wrong, and you believe in Allah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayril mursaleen. Muhammadin al-Nabi al-Ummah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ijma'in. أما بعد يقول الله تعالى بالقرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقد مكروا مكرهم وإن الله مكرهم وإن كان مكرهم لتزول منه الجبال فلا تحسبن الله مخلفا وعده رسوله إن الله عزيز ذو انتقام. Mighty indeed were the plots which they made, but their plots were well within the sight of Allah, even though they were such as to shake the hills. Never think that Allah would fail His messenger in His promise, for Allah is exalted in power, Lord of retribution. Of course, we all know that this is one of our favorite ayats, or series of ayats that have been for quite a while. And of course, وَقَدْ مَكْرُهُ مَكْرُهُمْ وَإِنَّ اللَّهِ مَكْرُهُمْ وَإِنْ كَانَ مَكْرُهُمْ لِتَزُولَ مِنْهُ الْجِبَالُ. There's some special words in this. Of course, makr is a plan or a scheme, or some ideas that you want to put into practice physically. And وَمَكْرُوا وَمَكْرُوا اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. In this case, these are people who plotted and schemed, but their scheme, their plots was well within the sight of Allah. Even though it was such that it would vanish the hills. We talked about Makkah's scheme or plan, but Tazula, or really Jabalu means mountain, Jabal. Jabal Tariq. The white folks call it Gibraltar. You know, Jabal Tariq, the mountain of Tariq. And they always corrupt the name, of course. But Tazula means to vanish, to disappear, or to cease to exist. People that are moving against Islam, then and now, are so comprehensive, so global in their fitna to destroy Islam, that their game plan is that Islam vanishes or it ceased to exist. That Islam exists no more. That's their plan. And they work on it. You can see it all over. We'll get into some of it in a minute. But just say global, we're dealing with global kuffar now. The time of the Prophet ﷺ, we was dealing with regional kuffar. Right? We was dealing with Quraysh and all of the Arabs around. That was regional kuffar. Now Islam is a global way of life. Therefore, we are under attack by a global apparatus. And at the same time, we're all coming out of our colonialisms and neo-colonialisms, right? Now you got to remember, for 1,200 years, for 1,400 years of Islam, 1,200 years of that, Islam ruled. You got to remember that. Those great empires of those days, well, whether it was Uthmaniyya, Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, whether it was Safavids in Iran, whether it was Mughal rule in Hindustan, now they call it India. Then it was under Mughal rule. Those three great empires were all Islamic. And so somewhere in the world, Islam was ruling, even in the Philippines and all of those areas. Islam is a global way of life. So now there's no regional kuffar that can challenge global Islam. But realize we are not at a disadvantage, because global kuffar, westernization is on a decline. Remember, we always talk about the growth cycles of life. There's birth, growth, decline, and death. You and I are in that process right now, right? The young kids, they're in their early stages of growth, and most of us, middle age, are still growing and developing and expanding. If not physically, psychologically, and we kind of mellowing off. But pretty soon we're going to start hitting the decline. We're going to see the doctor more. We're going to have more little ailments. When you get up, you'll get up like me. You'll get up a little slow. It'll take you a few feet to walk before you standing up straight and bouncing. But you just can't jump up after a while and just walk on off, right? You may have to stretch. You may people say, why are you standing there so long? You got to get your feet on solid ground. And if you, now you can't trip over a curb or anything, but when you get older, you can trip over a piece of paper almost. You ever notice that? Because you can lose your balance. So, and you can't, when you're young, you can trip over a tree and you still catch your balance. But when you get my age, you got to be steady, because you might. So there's a decline, there's birth, growth, decline, and death. Good thing about all this for us, we went through our cycle back then. And now we're going through a rebirth, a revival, when the West is going into a decline. You can't help but see it. It's a serious decline. And then it will die. I mean, the West won't just go away. Rome didn't go away. But the great power, the authority, the ability of Rome to be a global power has long been gone. All right, we're on an upswing. Therefore, global kuffar that is still maintaining some power base in the world is using everything in its assets to fight against Islam. Everything. So, but the other ayah says, so never think that Allah will break his promise to his messenger, for Allah is almighty master of retribution. La tasabana, that means do not reckon, do not count, do not think, do not suppose, do not assume, don't even consider that Allah is not going to make his messenger successful. And in our time, do not even think that the kuffar will be the winner in all of this. That Hizbullah, the party of God, that's us, right, will be the ghalibun. We will be successful. Now remember, you got to choose your team. There's only two teams that the Quran recognizes, generally. Hizbul Shaitan and Hizbullah. Think about it. There's two parties in the world. You're going to be part of one of them. You're either going to be part of the Hizbul Shaitan, the party of Satan, right? Or Hizbullah, the party of God. And it says that surely the Hizbullah, the party of God, will be successful. So don't think that because we're dealing with some passing tragedies, well, don't think because the United States is supporting Saudi Arabia in this vicious bombing campaign and giving Saudi Arabia satellite imagery, and they're giving it all kind of bombs and missiles and guidance to destroy Yemen. And Yemen is a failed state full of cholera, right? Starvation. They say 80% of the people starve. I was listening to even the European, the white folks news said an hour ago that it is a crime, it's an international crime that the United States, what they're doing in conjunction with their homeboys in the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia. And all the friends of America can bomb, kill, and murder at will, right? The Zionists can use, we don't even want to talk about the criminal Zionists in occupied Palestine, but they're America's friends, right? And anybody else is not their friend, they're going to sanction them, they're going, right? So when you look a few years ago when Hugo Chavez was alive in Venezuela, they was on a roll. He was supporting all of Latin America. They was moving up. And he died of cancer. Of course, in 97, 98, they used a coup against him, but he bounced back, right? In Nicaragua, they're rioting now. Maybe the people went a little bad, but maybe the CIA is down there causing trouble. Big time Brazil. They say 75% of the people want the ex-president to come and run, but the agents of America put him in jail, so he can't run, right? Everywhere you look, the friends of America have unlimited ability to kill and slaughter with the most modern weapons, and they never call to the UN. But if they want to sanction somebody they don't like, they can say the Russians use chemical weapons, and they don't show no proof, they just say it. They just say Iran did this. Don't nobody say, well, could you show us just a little bit of proof? Not a whole lot, right? Or in those days, we don't like Libya. Talk about decline, look at the world today. Every problem that America and Europe has, they created it themselves. When Gaddafi, a criminal, anti-Islam for sure. Y'all don't remember his green book, do you? Gaddafi's green book. He was kind of against hadith. He believed in Islam, but he said the hadith, the fairy tales, so that means that took him out of account. Because La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah. So if you don't believe in hadith, you don't believe in Muhammad, right? So that eases you out of Islam. Anyway, but he was a pretty good old dictator. If he was African, he would help you. And if he, he was a mild-mannered dictator compared to some of our others. Hafiz Assad and all them bums. Bashar Assad's daddy, those were real quality dictators. Abdul Nasser. But anyway, he would help you. So they took him out because he had $34 billion in gold. And he was helping Africans. So they got rid of him. But in those days, couldn't nobody cross his borders, and there was no need for the Chadians and other people to go to Europe, right? Because they had it good at home. Gaddafi was helping them. They just destroyed Gaddafi. Then they aided in the destruction of Syria, right? Now we've always been against Hafiz Assad. Bashar Assad is a minor. He ain't half as bad as his daddy, but he ain't no good. But it's still their business. We don't want Zionists and Saudis developing people in groups. You have to know, I know y'all all know that every group in the Middle East, Daesh, ISIS, all of them are created by Saudi Arabia and Saudi money. And the fitna in Iraq, all of that. So now they got an immigration problem for Europe, right? Where do the people go? They go from Syria, Afghanistan, everywhere, and then they go to Libya. And from Libya, they go across the Mediterranean by the millions, right? They created that problem. They destabilized the whole region. They destroyed Syria. They're the ones trying to figure out how to get out of Afghanistan. I bet they get out this time. They won't go back because they didn't read history. What is Afghanistan? The graveyard of empires. The great British Empire, 1854, you probably haven't heard of it. Khyber Pass broke the back of British imperialism in that region, right? The Russians destroyed by little old Afghanistan. And then they're going to bad America, want to go over there. And now they've been there for 17 years and ain't got no way of getting out. If they leave, they look like a sissy. And if they stay there, they get the stew slapped out of them on a regular basis. That's back like Jim Jeffries being in the ring with Jack Johnson in 1910. Can't get out, and if you stay in there, you're just going to get made a fool out of. What does that mean? That means that the decline of the West, birth, growth, decline, and death affects everything in creation. It don't affect Allah because Allah is the creator. But everything in creation goes through that process, right? Especially every living thing. Therefore, empires do it, countries do it, and individuals do it, right? The swing of the international and universal process is going our way. Let me get back to the subject. So in all this, I remember this is one of our articles, Mission and the Movement, December 1995. It says, when we speak of planning, a few points will help to clarify its meaning. Planning involves selecting in the present a course of action for the future. It involves setting goals and charting courses made up of multiple objectives towards achieving them. And number three, it involves making assumptions about the future. All assumptions, of course, are based on limited human insight, for Allah determines all things. This is mission and movement. And we have an ayat here. If they had intended to come out, they would have certainly have made some preparation therefore. But Allah was averse to their being sent forward, so He made them lag behind, and they were told, sit ye among those who sit inactive. So this is the ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about people. It was the last part of the mission of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Tabuk expedition. And this is saying if the people meant to go out for jihad, they would have made preparations for it, right? If they meant to do something, they would have got themselves together in order to be able to go. So certainly we have made some, they would have made some preparation therefore. But Allah was averse to their being sent forward, so He made them lag behind, and they were told, sit ye among those who sit inactive. This is a mission in the movement. This is in those days we're trying to plot a course. We're in the process of how do we develop? Well, this one answers the question, called to organize struggle. But organization is a tool to help you achieve the goals. Organization helps you look ahead and take goals, and it helps you anticipate the things you should be looking for. Organization means that you're not an individual anymore. You are part of a superstructure called organization. And that means you have divided up authority, divided up ability, and people have areas of their own activity. Authority, responsibility, and they are accountable. This helps leadership in the process of delegation, how to delegate certain people or parts of the organization to get certain jobs done. In other words, when you start getting real, you start getting organized. Right? And this is what Allah was saying. If they would have meant to go out, they would have made some preparation. They would have got organized. They would have got disciplined. They would have taken care of some business. Now, it's talking about planning. Planning is a window to the future. That's what it is. Planning is something that helps you get from where you are to where you want to go. That's what planning is. And a lot of people don't know it works, but planning works. With Allah's help, planning works. That you have a plan, a roadmap, how you want to get from where you are right now to where you want to go. We as a movement, we as an organization, I'm talking about right here, we have plans and ideas and strategies and tactics all broken down just like we did. This is 1995. We're still here, and 1995 was 100 years ago. That was 23 years ago. And we didn't face, as an organization, everything. There's no group, whether you believe it or not, in American history, especially black people, that have faced as much fitna, more sophisticated anti-us moves in the government, and still here. And haven't fallen for all their tricks and all their scams. And we haven't been mean either. Under the worst provocations that you can suffer, provocations mean they want to provoke you maybe to become violent. They want to provoke you to become mean. Right? And they may provoke you over and over and over again. And when they did it in the past to other groups, one provocation, the brothers would snap at the bait and get snatched up out of the water and thrown in prison or killed. That's the history of our movement. One of the sad things about the African American movement in America, whether Islamic or civil liberties or civil rights, they never lasted long enough to learn how to fight. Your friend, the American, as one of the students said here, and he was one of the students, so he should know. Big one, y'all all know him. You go pray outside with him sometime. He out there huffing and puffing now. He ain't gonna do nothing, no. He had 40 years to do something. He ain't did nothing now. If ain't nobody did nothing in 35, 40 years, do you expect them to get the Holy Ghost one night and jump up and liberate somebody? No. So he said something we knew. This system identifies your leaders before you do. Boss man, you got snitches all everywhere. Malcolm, did y'all ever listen to Malcolm when he talked about hand-picked Negroes? Hand-picked Negroes. That means, when he was talking about the people of his time, he said, these people that you're following are hand-picked Negroes. That means, like hand-picked fruit, hand-picked berries picked by hand. The white man has picked your leaders for you. That was 55, 60 years ago. He's got better at it now. Why do you think with all of our leaders, with all our groups and all our organizations, that they don't ever go nowhere? Why if we jump up and Black Lives Matter, which is good, why it don't go nowhere? The 4 or 5 people that are serious in Ferguson and everywhere, they're serious about it. Pretty soon, they look up. It was 20 of them, they for real, now it's 500 of them with expertise and everything. Out of those 500, 400 of them is the police. Yes, that's the way it goes. I don't care what you think, I'm just telling you. From experience, everything we tell you here, you know, our beard has grown gray here messing with this cracker. And we done slipped through every trap publicly. If you think I'm lying, go back and read these old articles. This is from, anyway, we'll keep on. So what are we talking about? They design and they pick your leaders for you. Therefore, you don't get nowhere. They don't do it only in America, they do it everywhere. Suppose they have an election somewhere, they say, we don't like him. So they undermine the government, right? Venezuela, anybody. Do you know? Of course you know. All those people running from Latin America to come up here to get something to eat, you know why? Because every government that they had was any good, the United States had them killed. Right? Especially they talk about Central America. Y'all remember the 4 nuns getting killed in Salvador and all that? You remember the cardinal down there getting killed in 1982 or 81 and all of that, right? Do you remember every government that they try to get together? The United States government crushes it. And every company in the United States sent down there from the United States, the United Fruit, they take all the money and the people don't have nothing to eat. So they got to run up here, right, to get something to eat. If the simplest thing for the U.S. to do is help them develop some economy down there where they can eat and have a good time. And they all won't be coming up here. The people don't want, whether you know it or not. If you lived in Latin America, like I did for years, that was the best part of my life, including the big Negro stuff, all the big cars. Living in Latin America, Colombia, Mexico, all of those places was wonderful. You know why it was so wonderful? Can you imagine in the early 70s if you leave America and it ain't no white folks there to mess with you? You would have to live in those days to know how good that feels. Just imagine, there is no cracker. When we ran and went to Africa, all the colonial powers were leaving in those days. But there was no white man, no white system there to mess over you. And if you're in Latin America and you're doing wrong and you have money, you can buy into everything. So you're like a deputy chief. Why? Because you got American money and you're going to do some business down there to help them make money. They're going to look out for you. And it ain't no white man can come and do nothing to you. Can't shoot you, the police up here. You think they just started shooting Negroes? No. Here's the point. With all this fitna, you got to have a mission and a movement to change the world. Science says any living organism, in order to survive, it either has to change its environment or adapt to its environment. So we have to either adapt to this fitna, adapt to this oppression, right? Adapt to this colonialism and neo-colonialism. We either have to adapt to it, adjust to it, or we have to change it. Call to organized struggle means that you want to change it. You don't want to sit, like the Quran was saying, inactive. And if you wanted to change it, you'd get organized and you would get developed to do something about it. In order to do something about it, you have to have a mission. You have to have a vision. You have to develop a culture of work and a culture of struggle, where it's not something that you have to make yourself do. It is part of your culture to work for truth and develop systems, design systems that assist you in changing the world you live in. Like you say, plan helps you get from where you are to where you want to go. I just want to remind you of another one we wrote way back then. That was 96. So it's called Ayats of Replacement. I'll just read 1 and 2. Oh, you believe? If any from among you turn back from his faith, soon will Allah produce a people whom he will love as they will love him. Lowly with the believers, mighty against the rejectors, fighting in the way of Allah, and never afraid of the reproaches of such as find fault. That is the grace of Allah, which he will bestow on whom he pleaseth, and Allah encompasseth all, and he knoweth all things. Oh, you believe, what is the matter with you that when you are asked to go forth in the cause of Allah, you cling heavily to the earth? Do you prefer the life of this world to the hereafter? But little is the comfort of this life as the hereafter. Unless you go forth, he will punish you with a grievous penalty and put others in your place. But him you would not harm in the least, for Allah has power over all things. With that, I want to move toward a close. If you don't go forth, you will be replaced. That is a friend of ours' family. Guns, dead body. This is the New York Times. It started off as one thing and it grew. Now it's everywhere. Guns, dead boy's body, and puzzle of officers at Squillet compound. This is about Imam Siraj's son and his family, and his grandson is supposed to be now. What do we do with this article? First thing we're going to do is we're going to wait before we come for any analysis. We're going to wait a long time, because you don't know what they're talking about and what's behind it. I'm going to give you just ups on a few things. This is full page on New York Times, all kind of papers. Right? They had another paper yesterday about the Imam's son, family. Unbelievable. Sounds like some old horror stuff. But no matter what happened to us, remember the friends of the government, they can do anything they want. And the people that they don't like, they don't say nothing about. This is in the world newspaper. It says, armed intruders attacked Masjid al-Islam in Oakland. That means the Negroes came on Friday in Jum'ah, almost with government badges on, government approval. In the front of the masjid, it looked like OK Corral. But we planned for it. We told our people, you cannot have no guns. And everybody was mad. They didn't even want to come because they don't play till niggas don't have guns. And anyway, they from Oakland, just like in D.C. So they came and they tried to provoke us. Didn't work. Finally, they was out there so long, old ladies was coming by, why those people bring guns to your church? I said, well, just a little incident. Pretty soon, the police come, but the police blocked the way for them to all run away. And they didn't ask no question about nothing. It's as though nothing ever happened. That's open. Another time, sabotage, death threats against Imam Musa, now grand larceny of Masjid al-Islam accounts. They give the police, which is totally illegal, we'll get it back, and we'll sue them 25 million or something. Money out of our accounts, the same one that's throwing guns on us. That don't have no right to do nothing. But that's how your friendly police will do you. Now you can't say don't nobody know nothing about it. Here's one arrested, Imam Musa arrested and held for 15 hours in jail. Arrested where? At Masjid al-Islam, and I'm handing them the deed to the property that we bought. But you don't hear nothing about it. Maybe we're not the friends of the system. People got to know about it. This is Islamic invitation of Turkey. This is from Turkey. What does it say? Why should the Imam says attacks coordinated by the FBI and CIA? If it's in Turkey, if it's on Voice of the Cape in South Africa, if it's on international news and press TV, and nobody says anything, right? So you got to wonder, it's more. This is my poor son here. This boy got hit at close range in a room, fighting with a whole slew of Negroes. He's got a right to do what they do. He's hit 6 times, close range, you know. And you can see when the bullets broke his arm, and you see right here, because this goes out and straight down. Now you know, don't go out and straight down, it goes like that. But this goes just like 90 degrees. That means the bullet hit it and broke it. Not to mention the army knife attack, you know, that went all over the world, but you don't see it in no white folks' newspapers or nothing. The only thing you see, and I'm going to close, revolution from Egypt to the Americas. I show y'all this every other week. But that's what it says on the internet, the white folks' internet. That's what it says. Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution, what are they talking about? Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution. Then they have Imam al-Alim. We all know our most famous civil rights worker is still alive. Right? Remember? He was H.R. Brown. H.R. Brown. Those days, that was Martin Luther King, right? Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, and H.R. Brown. Right? This is H.R. Brown, our friend, been here many times. Where's he at now? And they have by his name Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution. They're associating all of us in some super underground movement to bring down America. Although all of our lectures are very clear, we ain't even thinking about doing nothing to America. Because you can't bring it down. In the old days, we said you can't bring America down quicker than George Bush could, right? And now, can you run America down faster? Can you mess up America's allies in NATO and Canada and NAFTA and Central and South America? Could you and I turn the whole China, Russia, all of Europe to our side against the United States? We couldn't do it. But Don has with Iran, isn't that right? That means we're in the big times. Then Imam Luqman, another of our friends, been here many times before, he was assassinated in Detroit. Right? And the Negroes, the mush-mouthed Negro from New York, gave the Khutbah. 3,000 people, it was about 3,000 people. He didn't raise one dime for the community. They know Imam Luqman's community was one of the poorest out of Imam Jamil's communities. But this Imam is the most revolutionary. But he made a simple mistake. Oh, come on over and help us move some, I don't know what it was, material in his warehouse. He goes over. Can't nobody get me to go move nothing in the warehouse. But can't nobody bring me, we got 10 free high-speed computers for you over there. All you got to do is drive over, go in the warehouse and pick out. I said, I don't want them computers. They're worth $4. I said, I don't want them. With the FBI camped out right behind the box, I go over there. As soon as I reach down, they can get you now. You just walk in the door. Oh, receiver stolen goods, my God. And he really raised up his hands, and we thought he had a gun in his fingernail. They said George Jackson had a pistol in his wig in the Justice Center. Do y'all remember that? In San Quentin? Since y'all have been to the California pen, you've been in some of them. Do you think you can put a wig hat on your head and sneak a gun with metal into a Justice Center? In California? Into the hole? Can't do it. Then they got your dear brother here. Me. What does that mean? You know what it means. If you don't shut up, nigga, you next. But they've been nexting at the brother for a long time. I'm not going to brag, but we outsmart that old dumb cracker. You know why? Because Allah gave us enough time to live to be able to smell him out. That's why. And we slaps the urine out of your boss man, not your boss, but the boss man. Any and all the time. What do we say about this right here? Our brother and his family. None of them never said anything about anything we had. They said the government did it, it's all right, maybe we deserved it. But if he don't call me, I'm calling him. Tomorrow or the next day. And I'm going to tell him the same thing. Y'all ever see the movie Geronimo? Geronimo, the one made in the 80s. Geronimo was a great warrior. At the end, they made a treaty with General Crook, and he's a real Crook. So they was putting Geronimo and them on the train. And then all the snitches, the other Indians that helped chase down Geronimo, they told them, okay, drop your weapons. Drop your weapons. And get on the train. They would look like boss weak. No, you're Indians. Get on the train. Geronimo didn't say, you guys, man, that was cold, y'all. Couldn't nobody track us but y'all. You know our signs and everything. He didn't say that. We're not going to say that to the Negroes either. We ain't going to say, man, we told y'all. Whatever it is, if you come for me in the morning, they're coming for you at night. Remember, that's one of the famous sayings of our movement? Because we had revolutionaries and we had moderates. And the moderates thought they were safe. And we had a saying, you Negroes, if they come for me in the morning, they're coming for you tonight. It's been proved, isn't it, over 100 times. They use one of us against each other over and over again. They'll popularize one over to get the other to make you want to fight them. Now, just 2 more minutes. In 2007, at the Philadelphia Convention Center, the brothers left here on Friday and went up there and passed out flyers. But when we, 2008? 2008. In 2008, when we got there, it was like we was a movie star. Now remember, these are our brothers. We were supposed to be together and everything. They didn't have our name on anything, our picture on nothing, and they did. But everybody at the thing was saying, Imam Musa, when you gonna speak? Where you gonna speak at? What you got? I said, I'm not gonna speak. So they went and got the chief and drug him, and they said, the chief was that here and I'm there. They said, y'all gotta get together, man. And he says, yes, we'll get together. And then he split on off. I haven't seen him since. Well, I probably saw him somewhere, but I don't remember seeing him. That's fine, that's all right. What we say, all the stuff they say about family, children, and grandchildren, we ain't happy about that. We don't know what to, because you can't tell the fitna. You got to wait on the fitna to see which way it's going. But our position is, no matter what the idea, we with you and we with your family, period. And I'm going to call him within a day or so. I work myself up to get it done within a few days, sooner or later. And I'm going to say, man, we in this together. What can we do? And boss man, he can smile at you and he'll cut your throat. Act like he don't know that's your children. You don't know this. You don't know that. You don't know how long this rat been working on this. So we have the same position Geronimo had. That we in this together. Wherever this train is going, we on it together. This Islamic movement, Allah has blessed this Islamic movement to be developing. All of the people that took the different side, the Americans, had the brothers, y'all saw the paper, the article, they were feeling depressed and left out. But they at one time was leaders of Islamic movement. So we have to move back to that position. You know why? We're in America. I don't care how long, where nobody works, what their job is. They don't know the American government better than the Negro, tell the truth. Nobody does. We've been cleaning this house, right? Taking out his garbage, fighting his wars more intimately than anybody else. So to bring the West to Islam is our job. Oh Allah, we seek that refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek that refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek that refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek that refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keep from us what is prohibited, with thy grace make us free from want of what is beside thee. Ameen.